If you have a baby, you know how crucial grandmas are. They come over, help you keep your sanity, babysit for a while, and that's why when our moms come over, I like to treat them to something fancy. Seared scallops and a sweet corn risotto that'll knock the socks off any grandma. Our risotto starts with sweet corn, and I'm going to show you a really cool trick. So I've got the corn flat here. I'm going to take off the kernels without them going everywhere. They just kind of go like this. And look at how I've reserved the cobs of the corn. I'm going to put those into my stock. So I've got these beautiful kernels of corn. I'm just going to set them aside for now. We'll incorporate them into our risotto a bit later. But what I wanted to do is get these milky kind of cobs, lots of corn flavor, into the stock that I'm going to use to cook my risotto. So we take the cobs, press down like that. Got 4 cobs of corn here for my whole recipe. And that will really incorporate itself nicely into a low sodium veg stock that you can buy anywhere. Just throw it into your stock here. Now let's start a risotto. So any good risotto starts with a little bit of olive oil and some shallot, even a little bit of garlic if you have. Now, very important here to let it sweat. We're not sauteing the shallot and garlic, we're sweating it out. I want to keep it moving. I want a relatively low heat. And I just want to soften it without getting color. What that's going to do is, as I'm cooking the risotto, the shallot and garlic will almost melt into the rice. It'll give it depth of flavor without being a pungent kind of oniony flavor. And now we can add our rice. So for any risotto, you need a nice short grain arboreal rice is the best. Just like that. This is not the time for basmati. You want a short, really starchy rice, and that's where a risotto gets its creaminess from. When a short grain rice like that releases its starch, it comes creamy and beautiful. No need for cream in a risotto. So now that my shallot is all sweated out, I go in with the rice, maybe a splash more oil. I want to toast my rice here. It'll get more nuanced, get nutty. You can season as well. We season in stages so that everything has proper seasoning. Salt, pepper, and watch what happens to the rice now. Give it just 1 minute to toast in this extra oil. Now, my mom has actually lost her mind. You know that. First time grandma. She forgets that she's not the mother of this child. She will wrestle this thing out of my hands. She's gone nuts. So the rice has been toasting for a minute, minute and change. You can hear it. You can see it. Now I want to show you what the rice looks like when the edges become translucent. That's a good sign that it's well toasted, really aromatic, and we're ready to continue. Just an extra minute. Now I'll go in with the corn that I've taken from our cob into the risotto. You can hear it also sizzle. Splash more olive oil, doesn't hurt. I always talk about seasoning risotto in stages. This needs salt and pepper too. It's new to the party. Give it like this, and give it 1 second here to toast up as well. Now for me, every great risotto has a little bit of white wine at this stage also. Don't forget that. So, we get the white wine in there. Nice. And always important when cooking with wine to let it reduce. Sometimes people make dishes too winey. It's really too acidic. Let it reduce almost down to nothing. And don't forget yourself too. I can't forget me. But let it reduce down almost all the way. That's one, trick I always tell people when cooking with wine. Let it reduce, let it mellow. Perfect. So you can see that the white wine has reduced nicely. The rice has soaked it all up. It's not too winey. Got some great depth here. And now we can go with our first ladle of this corn veggie stock. And of course with risotto, we go in stages. I'm going to give it enough stock, let the rice soak it up, and then go with more. So give it a few ladles. And this is the thing about this risotto recipe. Oftentimes people think that risotto takes an hour, 2 hours. It's this laborious restaurant dish. It really isn't. This is going to take us 20 minutes. A nice short grain rice will soak up all that corn stock in almost no time. So keep stirring it, and already you can see that the stock is getting creamier from the rice, the starch that it releases, getting creamier from the flavor that the cob has released. It's awesome. When you have different flavor elements that tie into your dish, using a store-bought low-sodium stock is a great way to start, but then the corn cobs, or if you have garlic cloves or bay leaves, fresh herbs, rosemary, thyme, these are great ways to get a store-bought stock to the next level so you have depth of flavor. So our first round of stock has now been absorbed by all that rice. I can smell the corn, the wine, and this is what you look for. When you draw your spoon, you can see the bottom. That means the rice needs more stock. So we can go in with our second round of stock and let the rice keep drinking it up. Slowly over time, the rice will cook, will soften, and release its starch. And you can see how creamy it gets. Another thing, I haven't been stirring continuously. Sometimes people think when making risotto, you gotta stand here and stir for an hour in a row. You know, you stir from time to time, make sure it's not stuck on the bottom. It's not this big bad thing. You can just kind of gently make sure. You ever see a risotto that's plated on the plate and it stays firm like a rice pilaf? I hate that. A risotto should move. It should be silky and elegant and soft and buttery. And so risotto is one of those things you see on a menu time and time again, and rarely is it really good. So check it out. After our second round of stock, I see the bottom. I've only been cooking for 10-15 minutes in total. It doesn't take that much time, and I'm almost done. I'm gonna give it another round of stock, and I bet you after round 3, maybe a little more after round 3, our risotto will be done. Probably 20 minutes in total. So as I give it this stock to finish the cooking process, we can start to talk about scallops. These are Canadian scallops from the East Coast. Beautiful. And I want you to, sometimes you see this little muscle here. That attaches the scallop to the big shell. You've got to remove these bad boys here. You see? And I want you to pat your scallop really dry. You've got to dry your scallop because a great scallop has a hard sear. Any moisture on the scallop will steam and not give us brown caramelization. And then a good amount of salt and pepper on each scallop. And then of course I've got my skillet here and I want it really roaring hot. You're gonna know your skillet's hot enough when your oil is rippling, glistening, really, really hot. Space them out as well so that they're not touching. I don't want to steam my scallop. And if you get a splat of oil in the eye, keep cooking. It's okay, it's for grandma. Oh, you ready? Glisten. Beautiful. Look at these. That's the kind of sear you want on a scallop. Bursting with flavor, golden brown. And because grandma has been so nice to us, we're gonna get luxurious. Once we flip it over, I'm gonna baste it in a little bit of butter. Let's get fancy. Look. A little bit of garlic. And then what you can do, put your beautifully seared scallops on one side here, tilt your pan, give it a bath, butter bath. Does a few things. Finishes the cooking process, and of course, look how luxurious it is. This is restaurant quality food. Easy, as long as we follow a few rules. Keep the scallop dry, get a hot pan, a nice high sear, and then we baste in butter to finish. I don't want to overcook my scallop. I want it slightly translucent in the middle. You can tell from the touch. It's not too firm. If I poke it and it's firm, it's cooked all the way through and it might be a little too tough. Let it rest now. Just on a paper towel lined plate. It'll stay warm here while I finish my risotto, but it's still got a little bit of give. That way I know it's translucent in the middle. It's not cooked all the way through. It's still tender, really elegant. Leave those here. Let's check on our risotto. We're almost done. It's beautifully cooked. To finish any great risotto, a good amount of butter. Look at that. That's restaurant quality. Lots of butter, okay? With corn, I love fresh tarragon. They love each other, look. And then of course, every great risotto has cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano, into the rice. And we're gonna stir in the fresh herbs, the cheese, the butter. This will tighten up our risotto a little bit. So I want you to be aware of that too. I don't like risotto too stiff. Get all the butter mixed in. And you know what? We're ready to plate. Well, I don't know if my mother-in-law respects me more, but she at least sees what small value I provide when I cook nice food for her. This is what you're looking for. It's not too wet, not too dry. The rice is cooked perfectly. It really is elegant. Look at this. Right in the middle of the bowl. And a great risotto should kind of wiggle when you move the plate, okay? And now some scallops on top, beautifully seared, not overcooked. A little bit more cheese on top is great. Sometimes in a grocery store you can find these little microgreens just for presentation, kind of restaurant style, for grandma. And even a drizzle of olive oil at the end. So rich. For any grandma out there, this is the best way to say thank you. So you know what? Cheers, grandmas, for helping us new parents get some sleep. Enjoy the dinner. I'm going to sleep.